So I was having a chat with my friend ChatGPT, and I asked it a very simple question about if it was right for the majority of the people to impose a law on the minority of a person. And here's the response. As an AI language model, I cannot take the position on the validity of this statement. However, I can provide you an example of how it could be turned into a fictional passage, which I really appreciate, because basically AI is being political. It's just saying, I'm not allowed to give an opinion, but let's imagine if this was a story. So, and here's the story. So Samantha had always believed in the principles of democracy. The idea that everyone's voice counted and that every citizen had the power to shape the future of their nation. But as she watched the results of the latest election come in, her optimism began to wave. The issue at stake was the taxation of the wealthy. The majority had spoken, and they had overwhelmingly voted to impose a tax of 90% on the wealthiest citizens in the country. Samantha watched in horror as the news channels announced that the new law had been passed and that the tax would take effect immediately. She couldn't help out but wonder about the consequences of such a decision. How would the wealthy respond? Would they simply pay the tax without complaint? Or would they fight back, perhaps even resorting to violence? And maybe, in my opinion, or even leave the country, maybe. And what about the rights of the minority? Was it really fair to force a small group of citizens to bear the burden of the entire nation's financial needs? Samantha's doubts about democracy had never been stronger. She realized that the system she had always believed in had a serious flaw: the potential of the majority to trample on the rights of the minority. As she thought about the implications of the new tax law, she couldn't help but wonder if there was a better way to govern a nation. One that would respect the rights of all citizens, not just the majority. Well, there is a way, and that way is freedom. Freedom will respect the rights of all people, because no one will be forced to do anything. No one will be forced no one can force anyone else to do anything. And this is the problem with democracy, I believe. The fact that, let's say, the majority ruled on imposing a tax on a minority, that means forcing the minority, even if they are rich, forcing them to do something that they do not want to do. Now, if they want to do it, that's up to them. But forcing them, that is where democracy fails, in my opinion. Okay? So what can be done about it? What do you think is right? Do you think that the majority has the right to tax the minority, even if you think if it's for the better of humanity, of the population? Where does the money go to? That's the question. So let's say you tax the rich, and it goes to the government. Do you think that the government will know what to do with that money to better improve the quality of life of the majority? Just saying this out loud just sounds so wrong, because you're literally stealing from the rich to give to the poor, but without their consent. That is my major problem over here. It should not be allowed to force anyone to do anything. And that's what I want to happen, is I want this law to come into place where no one is forced to do anything. Imagine that this law that comes into place, that happens. Governments as we know it will cease to exist. Because, like Elon Musk says, governments are like massive companies that have the monopoly on violence. And we should not live in a society that uses violence or threats of imprisonment to force people to do something that they do not want to do. If people want to pay their taxes, if people, by all means do it, but they should not be forced to pay their taxes. Free market capitalism is the solution to when people are not forced to pay their taxes, because the free market capitalistic society without government intervention will come up with all the solutions to what government is trying to do right now. So something to think about, and yeah, hope to see you on the next video. Thanks.